towards British India. This fear of a Russian invasion into colonial British India forces London and Calcutta to look with a sudden new interest at the Tibetans. The Tibetans, of course, lying right in the middle of the path of the Russian advance. The Buddhist kingdom of Tibet now acquired to the British a crucial significance as a buffer state. The British decide to gather political intelligence via the use of Hindu spies. These Hindu spies would travel with caravans, often posing as holy men and pilgrims. Their prayer wheels actually acted as their spy kits. Instead of the usual scroll inside the prayer wheel, there was blank pieces of paper so they could jot down their observations with a tiny little pencil and provide military intelligence for the British. The Hindu spies, as I mentioned, posing as holy men, would remove the tops of their prayer wheels and then drop behind the slow-moving caravans and write down their observations. Their pilgrim staffs would also contain a thin glass object, a thermometer, to dip into the boiling water, the boiling kettles of water or cooking vessels, because at higher altitudes, water boils at a much different temperature. These colonial British Hindu spies faced terrible risks and hardships, not to mention the death penalty if found out. For any traveler who entered the holy city of Lashka without permission was publicly beheaded and placed in the spiritual rogues gallery of the Tibetan damned. The British developed ingenious techniques for their surveys and reconnaissance work, and even managed to use compasses and sextants in the gathering of their information. The Hindu spies working for the British Empire became known as chain men, and for decades conducted clandestine surveys of Tibet. They would use the Buddhist rosary as a way to count exactly the number of paces they took each day, the pace always being the same, roughly 33 inches. The Buddhist rosary, as I mentioned, is normally 108 beads, but the British remove 8 of the beads for a mathematically convenient total of 100. So at every 100 paces, the spy would slip the bead. A complete count of the 100-bead bogus rosary equaled 10,000 paces, or basically 5 miles. These chain men were highly trained and skilled in the use of cover stories and disguises. Their lives would depend on it. It would depend just on how convincing they could play their parts as holy men and pilgrims, play their parts in close proximity with real caravan traders, real holy men, and real pilgrims. The British rosary scam was ingeniously adapted, and so were the prayer wheels. The prayer wheels were fitted with a secret catch, so that the copper cylinder opened up in order to insert or remove scrolls of paper. Compasses were concealed inside, and the chainmen could take bearings to the beat of a prayer. False bottoms were placed in their traveling chests for larger instruments like sextants in order to take fixed positions of the stars. The journey would take the chainmen many months, and each step, every minute, was dangerous. Every inch of latitudes and altitudes was calculated and carefully recorded so that the British Empire could create a map of Tibet, in secret. The British also had an appetite for Tibetan gold. Since the earliest times, the people of the Indian